Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, the #1 Knicks fan in the world. And today, we have to talk about the Indiana Pacers. It's all over social media. Everybody's talking about it. We just got a report from Shams that basically the Pacers are looking to reset, retool, rebuild. I don't think we can classify or clarify exactly the direction that they're going to go into because I don't think that they know yet. I just think that they know that they have to trade Sabonis or Turner, something I think we all in the basketball community have talked about for the past 2 or 3 seasons. And like I said in my video a week ago, my X Factor video, if you haven't watched that, please go watch. I talked about Caris LeVert being the X Factor for the Pacers and how I felt the Pacers weren't sold on him and that he could become available. I talked about how people always talk about Sabonis or Turner being traded, but that ultimately I felt his time wasn't certain and that he could be available. And a week later, I strike again. That's why they called me Mr. Know-It-All. Anyway, I found this interesting. I love this type of stuff, obviously, because who doesn't love trades and player movement? That's what makes my job exciting and entertaining. And I just love, as I call it my GM mind, my team building mind. It's fun to think about all the different scenarios that could happen. But once I got the report after we finished the podcast, it's so fresh and so new that there's no trade websites or any articles about these type of. So I went to the trade machine and I played around with the trades myself. And I wanted to try to come up with about 3 or 4 team solutions or type of deals that you could see or expect to happen now that these players are somewhat available from the Indiana Pacers, which I by the way, I want to put in before we even get to that. I think this is the right move for the Pacers. You extend Malcolm Brogdon. Like I said in the X Factor video when talking about the Pacers, the emergence of Chris Duarte and how he's been able to blend in effectively and be productive kind of makes it easier to move away from Caris LeVert. Also, Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner, I think that those are 2 valuable big men who can bring you something back that's super valuable. Picks, young players, young talent. And I think the fact that they're now on the brink of maybe barely making the playoffs, missing the playoffs, is another lottery pick you can add to your arsenal. You already extended Malcolm Brogdon, which I don't think means he's untradeable. Next year, if you are young and you are committing to a full rebuild, you still have him, TJ Warren. You got Jeremy Lamb as a contract filler to buff up, Domantas Sabonis's contract, or if you want to bluff up Miles Turner's contract, because there are some guys that could be dealt for them or could be acquired by the Pacers that make a little bit more money than Sabonis or Miles Turner, which we will get into. But I love the fact that they're committing themselves to say, hey, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. But if it's broke, you gotta start finding a way to fix some shit. And this is their way to fix it. So shout out to the Pacers. Now, the first name I'm going to start with is Caris LeVert. Right? Because I think out of these two, Caris LeVert has, I don't want to say, I guess out of Sabonis and Turner, he does have the least amount of value. But I don't want to put it in a negative way. I just think it's hard to say what is his true value. Because there's one Caris LeVert that we saw with the Brooklyn Nets that had flashes of brilliance and that was closing games, high-scoring games. He was creating for himself, creating for others, playing with Kyrie and Spencer Dinwiddie and making it work. 30-point games. Did Caris LeVert have a 40-point game? I can't remember. I want to say 40-point game with the Nets, but I'm not sure. But he was a much better productive player with the Brooklyn Nets rather than what we've seen for the Pacers. So I think people still have that sort of idea with him. But obviously, the last couple years with the Pacers have hurt. There are different reasons and excuses you can make up for him. The scare last year that he overcame, which I think should be celebrated and talked about more highly. That's a success for us, the fact that he overcame that. And then the starting of this year with the back injury, he's had previous injuries with the Nets. He's always been an injury-prone type of player. So maybe you can use that as an excuse. Maybe you say that the Pacers wasn't a good system for him. Maybe he can go somewhere. So I still don't know if people value him as much, but I know people still think there is some potential there for him to be a productive player that we've seen flashes of. So with that being said, what's the true definition or true value of Karis LeVert? Some teams off the top of my head when I was playing around with the trade machine that came to mind, the Dallas Mavericks need some type of perimeter ball handling help. Jalen Brunson has stolen the show this year for them, outside of obviously Luka Doncic and the couple of flashes of great play that we saw from Kristaps Porzingis. But Tim Hardaway Jr. has never been a guy that took pressure off Luka Doncic with ball handling responsibilities. Neither is Dorian Finney-Smith. So it's really Luka, Jalen Brunson as their two guys who can create for themselves or others. Everybody else is literally waiting for Luka to create something for them. So they need to add another guy. And Karis LeVert would be very, very prototypical because he has the size. And he could maybe be that guy that they thought they were getting with Josh Richardson, a guy who could play with Luka, but then also if you take Luka out the game, or even if you want to just take a little bit of pressure away from Luka while they're on the floor together, Karis LeVert can at times create his own shot and get hot and explosive in a short amount of time. The thing about the Mavericks, though, is every time we talk about this team acquiring somebody, it's the reality that they don't have great assets. The one thing that they do have, though, is a little bit of money. Karis LeVert is making around $17 million. The Mavericks have Dwight Powell, who's making about 11. Maxi Kleber is making around 8 or 9. Dorian Finney-Smith is another $4 million. You have Josh Green. You have a pick. So a couple of packages that I put together, the Dallas Mavericks could offer Dwight Powell, Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green, and a first-round pick for Karis LeVert. Now, it may seem like a lot more that the Dallas Mavericks are given than other teams, but again, Dwight Powell doesn't make you thrilled to be receiving, especially because he has 2 years on his deal. Dorian Finney-Smith is on the last year of his deal, and then Josh Green is a young player that Rick Carlisle basically drafted, and then you also get a first-round pick. Now, if you're not sold on that, other packages, you take Dwight Powell out, you put in Maxi Kleber, you get Willie Cauley-Stein, who's on the last year of his deal, and then Josh Green in a pick again. Again, these aren't overwhelming things, but that's why you add the 3 players, expiring contracts, first-round pick, and hopefully hope that the Pacers say, hey, we'll just value that pick back, and we'll let Cauley-Stein walk, get the money off his books. Maybe Kleber stays. Maybe they trade Miles Turner and they keep Sabonis, and Kleber is there to space the floor for Sabonis to do his interior work. Some type of way to look at that. And then the Mavericks on the flip side could get a guy like Karis LeVert, take some pressure off of Luka, create his own shot and create shots for others, because they're dying for that right now. They need that so bad. And this would be a big come up for them. This would be a tremendous come up, because I don't know how else they would be able to acquire a ball handler, and even the fact that Jalen Brunson could be gone. You know what I mean? So those are the 2 package type deals that the Mavericks could use. Another team that I have on the Karis LeVert radar is the Los Angeles Clippers. Right now, with no Kawhi Leonard, you know they're looking for any offense that they can get. Luke Kennard has been good, but he's not been the scorer. He's been shooting the ball well, but he's giving you a limited amount of points. Karis LeVert could be another ball handler to help out Paul George and Reggie Jackson, because there's times when I'm watching the Clippers where they come a little bit predictable, because you know it's either Reggie Jackson or Paul George that's creating and relieving some responsibility off the two. Other than that, they don't really have anybody that can create anything. Kind of like the Mavericks. You know, and I guess we don't talk about it as much with the Clippers because obviously Kawhi Leonard is going to return someday. But yeah, as of right now, the Clippers kind of get redundant. And if Paul George or Reggie Jackson aren't on fire and, you know, carrying them offensively, Luke Kennard isn't stepping up and doing any of that. Eric Bledsoe, who makes $18 million, you can't rely on to do anything like that. And then the younger guys are just too young to be impactful in that way. So I have them giving up Eric Bledsoe, who I believe is on the last year of his $18 million deal. And you throw in, again, a pick. And then you get Karis LeVert. Maybe he comes off the bench for you. You go Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, PG, Morris, and then Zubac. And then off your bench, you can have a Karis LeVert, Serge Ibaka type of unit. And then, you know, eventually when Kawhi Leonard comes back, you now have even more depth with Karis LeVert and Luke Kennard coming off your bench. It's just about exactly what the Pacers would want and how much they would value that that pick versus the Indiana Pacers pick. The New Orleans Pelicans, have to put them in the conversation just because they need as much help as they can get. Again, Pelicans, Jackson Hayes, Satoransky, that makes the money close. That's like $15-16 million with their 2 contracts combined. And then you have to give them some type of pick, because this pick is too valuable to give the Pacers for Caris LeVert, because we're looking at a pick. The Pelicans have been so bad, this could be a top 5 pick. So a future first round pick that may not be this year. And I got to check and make sure, because the trade machine didn't have it, but I got to make sure the Clippers have some type of future picks or some type of pick that's close, because all the picks that they gave to the damn the Thunder for Paul George, revisiting the last trade with Eric Bledsoe, not to confuse y'all. But same thing with the Pelicans. Jackson Hayes, Satoransky, expiring deal from Satoransky. Jackson Hayes, a young big, I don't know, and a pick. I'm just throwing shit out there because the Pelicans, they need anything that they can get. Maybe you mismatch these names. Maybe you do Jackson Hayes, Nikhil Alexander, Walker, Kira Lewis. Get 3 young guys in a pick. It's just a matter of what the Pacers want. But the Pelicans need to be trying to get any damn help they can get, because they've been absolutely terrible. And then I even got the Suns out here for Caris LeVert, a championship team, or a contending team, a team that's trying to contend for a championship. Jalen Smith, young big from Maryland that they took 10th overall a couple years ago. Dario Saric, their 2 contracts combined. And then you get a pick from the Suns. You know what I mean? Well, it'd be some type of first round pick. Who the Suns have done a very good job with drafting. So I know they value their picks, but if you can get a Caris LeVert to come off that bench, him, Cam Payne, Cameron Johnson is off that bench. You still have JaVale McGee, so that gives you a little bit more leeway to give up Smith and Saric. And JaVale McGee has been very good, and now you have a legit 6-man or a legit spark with Cameron Payne off of that bench and some more size. So those are just some of the options I came up with real quickly with Caris LeVert. To be honest, there's a lot of teams that could use Caris LeVert. It's just a matter of how much people value him. I don't really know and how to gauge the value right now of Caris LeVert. It's going to be very interesting to see what the market says and how they dictate his value. Is he worth? Are people willing to give up anything more than a pick? Or is there anybody that's going to say, hey, I don't want to give up a pick for Caris LeVert. I'll just give you a couple of players. Hopefully you like them. You're a young talent, whatever. Because picks are becoming more and more valuable. You know what I mean? They're becoming more and more valuable. People are hoarding picks. They look at picks. We've seen gems in the late first round, mid first round. So people are valuing picks, and I'm very interested to see Caris LeVert real value on the market. Out of all these teams that I named, I think the Pelicans will have the least amount of chance to get them. Just to be honest, I would love to see a team like Dallas make a big come up. Question is Dallas going to trade with Rick Carlisle? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, are the Pacers going to say, hey, Rick, we don't want you to do that trade because you may like some of those players a little bit more than they're actually worth. Best case scenario, I think, for Caris LeVert is him going to a Suns or a Clipper team. 2 teams that are bound for the playoffs. 2 teams that will contend. Clippers may not contend this year, but again, Kawhi Leonard is going to come through those doors some point. And then the Suns. I mean, to be able to be on a Suns team as well-rounded as they are, have a little lesser role and then play above. That's what it's all about. Basketball and some of these players are about exceeding expectations. Caris LeVert, under the not I don't want to say under the radar, but it wasn't much expectation in Brooklyn. It was all about Kyrie and Durant, and even before that, it was D'Angelo Russell. And Caris LeVert overachieved and caught some attention and had games that people wasn't expecting and certain performances that they didn't know he was capable of. Then he got traded in a James Harden trade where he was one of the bright spots, and there was attention on him, and there was expectations with Indiana and some injuries here and there. System didn't work there, new coach here, and it has been bumpy. So maybe go back to a situation where maybe the attention isn't all on you, lesser role, and you can overachieve and oversucceed and bring that value back up. So I think those would be 2 good situations. I do believe that there are more teams out there that would have some interest in Caris LeVert. Those were just to name a few. My other guy, Miles Turner. right? First and foremost, I'm going to say the same thing like I said with Karis LeVert. I think I'm going to name a few teams, but Miles Turner is a big who could protect the rim and step out and make threes. All 30 teams probably have interest in him. If we being legit, all 30 teams, but these are the few that I came up with. The first team is the Boston Celtics. I think the Boston Celtics and Miles Turner have had a connection in every single season we've had over I don't know how many years. Josh Richardson and his $11 million contract. Then you have Robert Williams, which is another $5 million. You have the former lottery pick, Aaron Nesmith, sharpshooter. And then you get a pick from the Boston Celtics. And now they have Miles Turner, Al Horford, Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Dennis Schroeder, Peyton Pritchard, Marcus Smart. You have some shit there. You have something there. And I think that trade ultimately makes them better. The Pacers on the flip side, Josh Richardson contract as a player option, if I'm not mistaken, so you can cut ties with him. Rick Carlisle, I have to deal with him again, but you can cut ties with him, get his $11 million off the book. Robert Williams is a nice young big that you can play with, and then Aaron Nesmith is maybe a guy that you can rejuvenate and allow him to, shoot the ball the way Chris Duarte is, and maybe with a more free-flowing offensive system, he can get a little bit more momentum or rhythm versus playing on a Celtic team where the ball usually sticks between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, rightfully so. Pacers offense is a little bit more ball movement heavy because they don't have scores like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And then obviously you get another pick. Another team, this is Hornets. I just know the Hornets need some type of big that they can rely on outside of Mason Plumlee or Cody Zeller from last year. Miles Turner would be able to stretch the floor, give a lot more driving avenues for LaMelo, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, and you can just be a little bit more versatile. Also, Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward has always had interest in the Pacers. It's just where he's from. Grew up in Indiana, went to Butler, so the homecoming for him and the Pacers have always been there. This is an opportunity where you send Gordon Hayward, who makes around $29 million. Kai Jones, a former lottery pick, a first-round pick, and then the Hornets get Jeremy Lamb and Miles Turner because you have to make the money match with Gordon Hayward. The only thing about this is, do the Pacers want to bring in a $29 million salary, or are they rebuilding? That's why I said at the beginning of the video, it's very important to get a clear direction on what the Pacers are doing, because they could rebuild or they could retool. And they could be still a competent team, competitive team out in the East, fighting for a 7, 8, 6 spot. But you have to know where you're going before you bring in Gordon Hayward. You don't want to bring in Gordon Hayward and then it's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to compete. We're just going to. But if you still feel like you can retool it and be competitive to some degree, oh, man, yeah. Miles Turner goes to the Hornets. They're good. You bring in Gordon Hayward. Sabonis is now your 5. You got Brogdon, Duarte, Hayward, whatever you can get back for LeVert. If you get it back a Kleber with the Mavericks, Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Kleber, Cauley Stein, Josh Green, to pick. There's a lot of different routes they can go. But I do like that Hornets trade because they're both getting 2 players that could help them. The Hornets, yeah, they lose Gordon Hayward, but you still have Kelly Oubre, PJ Washington come off the bench, play that 4. Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, LaMelo. You put all those guys around Turner, and you just run up and down, 5 out. Their offense would be crazy. And then the last one is the Knicks. The Knicks love Miles Turner. And then I have Obi Toppin, Kemba Walker, and Mitchell Robinson for Miles Turner. And it would just matter on what direction the Pacers wanted to go. But those are the 3 teams. Again, Miles Turner is a 5 who can block shots and shoot threes. There's not a team out there that wouldn't want him. Kemba Walker, I threw him in there because we just got news that TJ McConnell is probably going to miss the rest of the season. You bring Kemba off your bench, some type of scoring punch. There's no more Aaron Holiday either. Give you some type of backup for Malcolm Brogdon, and then you figure it out as you go. And even maybe you get a pick out of the Knicks. I don't know. Then last but not least, Domantas Sabonis, who I think has the most value from any of these guys that were named today. First and foremost is the Blazers. His dad played for them. Blazers are desperate to try to make a move. Nurkic on the last year of his deal. Blazers offer Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, Larry Nance, and a first-round pick, and they get Domantas Sabonis. So you still have CJ. You still have Dame. You still have CJ. You got Norman Powell, Rocco, and Sabonis. Defensively, it is what it is. Literally, defensively, it is what it is. But that's your best bet to just try something new. Sabonis is a center who can facilitate. Imagine a dribble handoffs he could do with Dame or CJ, relieve some of that pressure for them so it isn't so predictable offensively. But defensively, there would be some problems. But you would just have to say, F it. We're just trying anything at this point to keep our team together. And if it fails, then you try to go get Ben Simmons or some shit. Try to trade CJ to Philly and get some defense that way. I don't know. But the Blazers need some type of rejuvenation, and that will be one way for them to get Domantas Sabonis from the Pacers. The next team, the Raptors. Right? I talked about guys that make more than Sabonis or Turner, and that's where I got Gordon Hayward from. That's why we put Jeremy Lamb in there. Same thing with them. Siakam makes $33 million a year. Sabonis only makes 19. So, you know, you do Sabonis and Jeremy Lamb, and then the Raptors give up Siakam and a pick. You know, Pacers get back Siakam, who's a 4, could play with Turner. If you traded Sabonis and kept Turner, a 4-5 front court of Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam is good, and you're getting a pick back. And then for the Raptors, you got Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., and Sabonis. And you're just out there doing your thing. And then another trade is Goran Dragic. The last year of his deal, super heavy, $19 million, I believe. You do Goran Dragic, Boucher, Malachi Flynn, and a pick. And then you get back Sabonis and Jeremy Lamb. And again, you got Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Sabonis, Scotty Barnes. The Raptors find a way to get Domantas Sabonis, and they're keeping Fred, OG, Gary Trent, Scotty, or Pascal, whatever. Sabonis being that 5 to what they have now, I really like that team out there in Toronto. So that would be very interesting. We got the San Antonio Spurs. They have a few ways that they can get it done. You got Jakob Poeltl, Devin Vassell, Josh Primo, and a future first-round pick this year, whatever. Sabonis over there with DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott. That's a nice. Hey, just putting it out there. You even got Thaddeus Young. You can do a whole new deal. Devin Vassell, Trey Jones, and a future pick. The Spurs have options. You don't want to give up Josh Primo. Give up Lonnie Walker. The Pacers, they have options to ask for. You can ask for Josh Primo, Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, whatever way you want. Jakob Poeltl, whatever. There's options there. So I love that one for the Spurs. Last but not least, the Golden State Warriors have been phenomenal this season. We haven't even seen James Wiseman. We haven't seen nothing but limited minutes from Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. We haven't even seen Klay Thompson this season. The Indiana Pacers receive James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and or maybe even throw in a first-round pick, and the Golden State Warriors receive Domantas Sabonis. That's Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Sabonis, and you still have Jordan Poole off that bench, Kevon Looney, who knows the system, Andre Iguodala, Benelitza, Gary Payton, Damian Lee, Juan Toscano Anderson. You still have everything that makes you go, who says no to that? And for the Pacers, you can take that in so many directions. You would have Brogdon, Kuminga, Wiseman, Moses, Moody, potentially a first-round pick. You could, if you get Wiseman, shit, you might as well trade Miles Turner too. You trade Miles Turner to the Hornets or whatever we talked about. Trade Miles Turner to the Celtics. I don't know. But that's how you start a rebuild. That's how you start a rebuild. Now, people are going to say, would the Warriors want to do that? Hell, if you're going for it right now, the way that they're playing, I would. Go out there, solidify your chances at a championship. None of those guys that I named have contributed at all to what they're doing on the court right now. So you give me Sabonis' production and the nothing that they're doing, it has to, the Warriors have to go up. And with the Warriors system, which is for a whole nother video and conversation, and everything that they do, they know how to get the most out of players, man. They know how to get the most out of players. D'Angelo Russell situation was a little bit different. Steph missed time. Clay was out. Draymond Green had missed time. Even Wiggins and Oubre looked a little. But when they have their full collective, Curry, Draymond, Wiggins looks like a new player. They've rejuvenated his career, and I think that's something that has not been talked about. And that's going to be, to me, one of the most impressive things out of their entire dynasty that they've built over the last decade. It's easy to come in and have a 73-win team and implement Kevin Durant. That's nothing. You know, it was easy. That's a cheat code. But to lose Kevin Durant, go through what they went through with all the injuries, Clay was out, Steph was out, Draymond was out. They brought in Wiggins. They brought in D'Angelo Russell, flipped D'Angelo Russell for Wiggins. Then you bring Wiggins in. He's okay, whatever. Then boom, they get their full team back, and now Andrew Wiggins is playing the best basketball of his career. He's efficient. He's effective. Defensively, he's locked in. Who's to say they couldn't do the same thing for Sabonis on the defensive end? Under Draymond's tutelage, communication, they're a good defensive team. Man, it's worth it for me. I would go forward. The question is, would the Warriors be willing to acquire Sabonis by giving up Jordan Poole? Because what if the Pacers say, hey, you can keep Moses Moody. Just give us James Wiseman, Kuminga, and Jordan Poole. And would the Warriors be willing to give up the farm for Sabonis? Y'all let me know in the comments. Always great talking basketball with y'all. I love this time of the season. Hopefully we get more teams committed to starting over and resetting and doing whatever they need to do. No wonder I'm wearing this. I think it's no coincidence. I put this on this morning. It made me feel good. Did a great episode of the podcast right after this news came out. So shout out to the Pacers. The Pacers have been wonderful today. Let me know y'all opinions in the comments. Is this one of your first time watching my videos? I am Pee Wee the Plug. This is NBA Weekly. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.